Today, the Shapeoko is going to simplify the creation of the most complex piece of furniture in any home, a chair. For that, we're going big. Bigger lumber and a bigger spindle. Through the concepts, connections, assembly, and finish, there's a host of ideas and tips to make your next CNC project level up. I'm going to make the free basic version of Carbide Create complete the entire build. So come along for the journey, see if I conquer the complexity, or keep myself warm all winter. This is a typical woodworking project, a simple road featuring warm memories and banjo music. This is a chair project, intersections and connections, a vibrant city featuring noise and energy. Cue the heavy metal. Those intersections are what make chairs expensive and challenging. Mid-century modern chair. I'm never looking to create a copy of someone else's work, but rather I want to plan a starting point for a trip. I want the journey to be mine. If everyone simply followed a map every time, there would be a single path to every destination. That's the style and art side. But what about... What are the requirements of a chair? Strength, durability, support, angles. How about physical features? Leveling feet, height of armrests, width, construction and coverage of the seat, materials, colors. Oh my God, analysis paralysis was a real possibility. I was feeling it. So, time for a point of origin. For me, the angle of the seat pan and back was the most essential element. Turns out there are normal angles for chairs. If you've ever sat in a 90-degree chair, you know that nightmare. I once sat for a many-string quartet performance at a Viennese palace in a 90-degree chair. For 2 hours, man. A special brand of hell. My chair is designed to pull the person into comfort. 12 and 22.5 degrees are the recommendations I'll take to the prototype stage. In terms of connections to the ground, this will be a test of skill. No leveling feet will be used and no wobbling will be acceptable. Stay tuned to see if that actually happens. In designing something, I always have 2 goals. 1, make something a bit different. This can be a method, materials, lights, kinetics, something that makes me feel the project stands out. Some elements of expression. 2, push myself beyond what I think is achievable. This does result in frustration, broken parts, and failure. You've seen this. But remember, there are no failed projects, only early version builds. For this design, once again I'm back to hand tracing to create the side profile. If you saw our complex inlays explained video, I also utilized hand tracing there. It's worth noting here that these types of chair frames are made from multiple pieces of material in order to reduce costs. I'll talk further about costs later in the video. So once my side frame design was complete, I had to chop it into 3 pieces to fit within a single piece of lumber. Later in the video, you're going to see this exact pattern get cut out. After completion of the full design, I break it apart into individual pieces for cutting. I'm keeping paired elements together, flipping those parts that require 2-sided machining, and using text to keep myself oriented during creation. My file for this project got kinda wild. Checkpoints, versions, and breakout parts. Even on basic projects, organize your files and toolpaths so that your workflow is ready when you move on to more advanced builds. Domino, biscuit cutter, or dowels, none of these add strength to a structure. Which for a long time, I didn't know. I always thought those did add strength. Turns out, strength is actually added by the chemical bonds of the glue along with the shape of the joints. Now, a few years ago, I bit the bullet and paid for a Festool domino. As I've suggested here many times, if you want something, do a project for a tool. I specifically built a bed to justify the cost of this domino cutter. I know many of you employ this tactic. Let me know in the comments below what you've built in order to acquire some specific tool. So if a domino cutter costs a fortune but doesn't add strength, what does it bring to the table? Answer: alignment accuracy. And much greater alignment accuracy than my grandfather's biscuit joiner offered. Now add in the precision of CNC to the equation and your builds get hyper accurate. Carbide Create plus a bit of testing had me cutting domino holes on Shapeoko. This is huge for creating symmetry in the parts and having chair legs sit flat all the way around. No one wants a wobbly chair. Show your skills, amaze your friends, bask in the glory, climb the mountain because it's there, make future you better. This project definitely required a prototype. With that, I worked out all the intersections and relationships of the parts. The planes. No, No, the planes. Come on now. The planes and how they lined up. This helped me understand a variety of things. What overlaps needed to change? What sharp edges had to be softened? Was the inner frame even needed? The front kick plate got deleted. Will I regret that? Unknown. My best discovery was the need to visually lighten my design. The back fins had to change. 3/4 inch Baltic birch was my prototyping pick. Version 0, complete. This is 8/4 walnut, lumber speak for 2-inch wood. Welcome to the quarter wood system of measurement, where lumber thickness is described in total quarters. This measurement system is the result of the first circular saws, invented by the Shakers and called a buzz saw. Those machines were designed to cut nominally from 1 to 16, in increments of 1/4 inch. The method of asking early sawmills for a particular thickness became the quarter system, which for the first time in history standardized lumber sizes. That measurement system is employed at the hardwood shop you'll need to find in order to get this type of dimensioned and finished wood. Both 8/4 and 4/4 lumber were used here.
If you're planning to work with 8/4 wood on the regular, you're going to want to move to at least 3/8 inch tooling. It's twice as strong as 1/4 inch tooling, making it less prone to chatter and deflection at equal lengths.
I've cut with a 3-inch long 1/4 inch tool. It is not ideal. Here, I'm using 1/2 inch tooling and our 80mm spindle. Access to 1/2 inch tools is the primary benefit of the larger spindle. Surfacing, speed, and maximum depth capability also arrive via this larger tooling. But be aware, all the cutting forces are multiplied. The proper setup equals success. I could have used side clamps, but I chose to use super glue and blue tape. Personally, I love this method for larger objects. It's terrifically strong,
And it frequently removes the need for tabs.
which means less post-processing. Now, side clamps are another option, but I don't always have enough material on the stock to ensure a side clamp is going to maintain holding force as a part is cut out. Larger diameter end mills eat up a lot more material. That said, all these videos are put together in retrospect, so it's important for you to remember.
So, the super hold holds. Yes, a couple little tabs on the side, that definitely I think helped to keep things a little bit in place. But the super hold throughout the entire thing, super glue and blue tape with a little bit of accelerator, that did the trick to hold everything stable so I didn't have anything get loosened up, get bound up in any way. I think all these parts are clean. Time to get them out and hope for the best. On the second side, we're almost there to the actual frame being complete.
A few moments later.
Okay, now the parts are complete. Full disclosure, I had to go back and modify these parts because my domino holes weren't fully cut. I had this midsection, but not the rest of them included in my toolpath. Be sure and check your simulation so that everything you expect to happen is happening before you go cutting. Otherwise, you're gonna find yourself in a salvage situation. Fortunately, my work holding was solid enough that I could run that 1/8 inch end mill. You don't wanna get caught like that. But if you do, sometimes it works out okay, sometimes it doesn't. We're moving on, let's get these parts off the CNC and get board number 2 on the way.
With the second 8/4 frame being cut, let's get you some further useful info for your future projects. On the prototype, a grip of time was spent measuring and cutting domino locations. That process was the kick I needed to create the domino locations on the flat parts. But could the precision of CAD help locate some of the edge cut dominoes? Yes. The bottom of the seat pan was the perfect place for this experimentation. In my design, I marked out the midpoints for those edge cuts. Using a number 501 V-bit, Shapeoko created hash marks to which the domino cutter could be aligned. While permanent, these marks would never be seen because they're on the underside of the seat pan. Increased accuracy achieved. Number 2 had me utilizing the super hold method of work holding along with some tabs to help link the parts in these 8/4 cuts, adding a little extra insurance when cutting this 2-inch stock. Next, I used upcut and downcut end mills. They're worth the tool change. You want a clean downcut top edge, but 2-inch slots are rough for downcutting the entire thing. Yes, I know compression just went through your head. The thing is, with a deep slot, you're still pushing chips downwards with those flutes. The upcut tip is not going to overcome the downcut flutes when it comes to the direction of those chips. Utilizing a downcut end mill to begin the contour cutout, then switching to an upcut is far more effective for material removal and providing cleaner cuts. I've already mentioned the need for a hardwood shop. For this build, I also needed an upholsterer. I've never had custom cushions made, so a couple of calls and some Google searching had me off to making decisions. Leather or fabric? What's the preferred look? Texture, color, costs? I jumped over to a local upholsterer and dove in. When I start learning about a new trade or process, I'll lean on the expert in that field for some decisions. Meet Bobby and Cooper. Future me always benefits from developing new sources and connections. Future you would too. Let's talk honestly about this project. The costs are out of hand. The chair is something you'll want to keep around. My hard costs exceeded $1,000. This does not account for any of my time, nor the cost of the prototype. The main body materials ran north of $500. The cushions alone were $450, and that was using remnants from the upholsterer. Leather would have been another $300. This is why custom chairs are super costly. Building a business around this project would be about refining the production process and finding the right clients. Actually, every design business is about having the right clients. First, clamping guides. You can purchase these clamping feet or you can make them. Here, I was playing with a general idea. Doing it again, I'd probably have more research guide my exact design, but they worked. Next, these wraparound foot guides. The two side frames needed to be identical. Creating these guides allowed me to clamp at a 90-degree angle around the frame, which was definitely not 90 degrees. Finally, a nest for the parts to be flip machined was a big win. These pieces were held in with the same superglue and blue tape while being machined by a 1/8 inch end mill. Precision domino locations, check. A realization came to me during this build. I hate bargains. In a world that wants to drive consumption, a bargain is someone trying to offload their crap that's not selling. That thing has to be discounted because it lacks value. Rarely do quality and bargain match up. Therefore, bargains are not for me. In my life, I'm looking for fewer things, but higher quality things.
That's been one of the major benefits for me in getting involved with CNC. The ability to make something that I want, that reflects my values and my quality of work. It doesn't always turn out that way. Sometimes I nail it, other times learning happens. Just remember, I'm doing all the things that I encourage everyone who watches our videos to do. Push yourself, get beyond where you're comfortable, and that happened with me on this chair. I certainly was concerned about the amount of expensive material that I had cut. Would it fit together properly? Would it not? As assembly proceeded, some of those thoughts faded. If you're feeling the same way, no matter the level of the project, just know I'm with you as well. Oftentimes, I'm feeling those exact pressures here in the studio.
On a complex project, errors are unavoidable. Here are mine. Sanding away glue proved costly. I created this groove. As I was sanding, I just kept staring at it and trying to decide what to do. I considered making some sort of decorative element to cover it up, but in the end, I came to the realization that no one sitting in the chair is ever going to see it, so I'll leave it there. It's just part of a first version. Bummer. Next, I cracked my frame, and I'm not sure why. My suspicion is I forgot about an overlap in the domino locations and smashed a couple together. That's the bad news. The good news is I already know how to fix this. Earlier experience paying off on a later project. Therefore, no one will ever see this crack. Also, this intersection is super strong, so I'm not worried about the chair splitting or collapsing. In this same area, and also related to those dominoes, the frame did not come together 100%. I forgot about those domino problems and it became costly. Fortunately, I don't think it affected the feet. Again, more first version issues. Now here's one that just relates to design. My frame in the prototype was 3/4 of an inch thick. My frame for the final was made out of that 8/4 wood. Consequently, the back sides were wider and my arm design did not compensate for that. Someone online said, make a chair and sit in it, you'll learn more than you thought. That's 100% true. Another version of this chair would also feature inset back fins that create a uniform chair back surface. The guys at the upholstery shop have assured me that it won't matter once there's a cushion on there, but I don't like the way it looks, and I did try and add a little back plate into there. You ever make a part and you think it's going to work, and then it turns out you really hate it? Yeah. Finally, the next time I put together something like this chair back, I'll be sure to check the positions of the fins before allowing the glue to dry. There were some variations here with which I was displeased. Certainly don't take the dissection of those errors as any sort of indication of failure. I'm so pleased with the way that this turned out in the end. I learned a ton Getting through a build of this magnitude will certainly build your confidence and have you thinking about what other challenges you can take on.
A tung oil finish really brought this walnut to life. Sometimes the simplest finish is the best.
With the finish applied and the cushions on, I can take just a moment to sit back and enjoy it. As always, the goal here on our channel is to build your CNC skills. Ask me any questions you have about this project or our other projects in the comments below. We maintain those and certainly do respond. And we'll be back with more information, ideas, and inspiration from Carbide 3D.